Before the relentless external noise demands another ounce of your precious energy, simply stop. Stop moving, planning, and analyzing the past. Take a deep, grounding breath right now. Do not skip this vital threshold to your liberation. Inhale slowly, drawing air deep into your stomach. Hold it to anchor your spirit, then exhale, releasing the crushing weight of betrayal and unseen emotional labor from your tired shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Notice how this deliberate act of presence fundamentally shifts your internal atmosphere. You are entirely safe here, deeply seen and understood. This sacred space speaks fiercely to your sovereign soul. Prepare yourself, because your entire internal reality is entering a permanent, irreversible shift. We are standing at the absolute precipice of a monumental, timeline-altering astronomical threshold, the 8th of April 2026. This is not a day for subtle hints, gentle nudges, or comfortable, easy transitions. This is a day of absolute, undeniable, and life-altering revelation. The exact day the universe forcefully strips away the heavy illusions you have been suffocating under, forcing you to finally step onto the throne of your own reality. The energy of April 8 is a grand psychological purge. On this highly fated day, the cosmos is meticulously aligning to perform a deep, subconscious exorcism through two immensely powerful celestial events. First, the moon is in its waning gibbous phase, pulling dangerously close to the last quarter. This is not the soft, romantic moonlight of gentle new beginnings. This is the blinding, uncompromising light of absolute finality. It is the ultimate energy of purging, forcing you to physically and energetically expel the absolute last, lingering remnants of a highly toxic attachment. This specific moon does not ask you to reconsider or negotiate. It brutally demands that you drop the heavy, dead weight that is no longer serving your ultimate evolution. Second, and most profoundly, we are experiencing a massive, incredibly rare, and highly volatile cosmic stellium, a brilliant convergence of the Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn, balancing precariously right on the razor-thin cusp between the deep, boundless ocean of Pisces and the blazing, unstoppable fire of Aries. This is the ultimate, explosive crossing point between total, blinding sacrifice and the fierce, uncompromising birth of the sovereign ego. The collision of these four giant entities creates an undeniable psychological pressure cooker. Pisces represents your past, the complete dissolution of boundaries, the blind, overflowing compassion, the hazy, deeply romanticized dreams, and the tragic martyr complex you have been severely trapped in. You have been drowning in these watery, Piscean depths for far too long, giving unconditionally until you completely lost the solid ground of your own identity. Aries, however, represents your immediate present and your golden future. The ultimate warrior, the untouchable sovereign self, the roaring fire of absolute truth and fierce, unapologetic self-assertion. As the blazing sun bringing blinding illumination, Mercury bringing diamond-sharp truth, Mars bringing the sword of decisive action, and Saturn erecting impenetrable stone walls, all simultaneously cross this exact threshold. They are performing a radical, cosmic surgery to entirely uproot your romantic illusions. You can absolutely no longer hide. The blinding light is flooding into the darkest, most heavily guarded corners of your past dynamic, exposing every single lie, every subtle manipulation, every hollow promise, and every single drop of vital energy you violently wasted. For months, or perhaps even agonizing years, you have been operating in a catastrophic, deeply unhealthy state of distributed energy. Because you were trapped in the dark shadows of Pisces, you were constantly checking the horizons, eagerly scanning for their unpredictable reactions. You tirelessly, painfully modulated your truth, lowered your volume, and dimmed your magnificent, blinding brightness, just to avoid triggering their deep-seated, unresolved insecurities. You lived in a constant, highly toxic state of hypervigilance, analyzing their shifting moods, deciphering their agonizing, prolonged silences, and reading into their tiny micro-expressions just to figure out if you were safe that day. You entirely lacked the energetic luxury to be the authority of your own life, because you were far too busy playing the tireless negotiator, the ultimate emotional shock absorber for a fundamentally broken person who didn't even value the profound, beautiful peace you were sacrificing your own sanity to provide. You fell deeply, tragically in love with the beautiful, self-created projection of how much you could give, how much you could heal, and how much you could fix, reflected off the dull, unresponsive, utterly blank surface of someone who could only ever violently take. You fell in love with their sparse, pathetic, deeply manipulative breadcrumbs of validation. You became heavily addicted to those fleeting, intoxicating, chemically induced moments where they almost treated you like a basic priority, where they almost saw your immense, staggering worth, where they almost chose you. You took those tiny, microscopic, entirely basic moments of standard human decency and you wildly, desperately inflated them. You built an entire imaginary, sweeping, cinematic, heavily romanticized future of eternal devotion out of fragments of absolute nothingness. You tirelessly told yourself and your completely exhausted friends that they were just beautifully broken, just heavily traumatized, just not entirely used to being loved so deeply, so purely. You actively lied to yourself, claiming their agonizing, punishing distance was actually a profound sign of their deep, silent respect for your fierce independence. You told yourself their profound, cowardly inability to actually commit to you was actually a deeply spiritual sacred contract, a highly evolved twin flame journey of runner and chaser that you had to patiently, silently, and painfully endure to reach enlightenment. You deeply, fundamentally believed at a cellular DNA level that if you just provided enough total silence, enough boundless, saint-like patience, and enough unconditional, unwavering devotion, you could eventually, finally earn your rightful throne beside them. You genuinely thought your golden, overflowing, massive loyalty could somehow act as a magic spell to completely fix the shattered, dirty mirrors of their own deep, unacknowledged self-hatred. You thought if you just waited long enough in the freezing dark, the universe would finally, miraculously reward your immense suffering and proudly crown you as their one and only chosen one. But today, under the uncompromising, brutal sky of April 8, Saturn is delivering a fatal, necessary blow to that grand illusion. Saturn is the cold, hard embodiment of reality, of time, of karma, and of unbreakable limits. As it merges with Mars and Mercury on the Aries threshold, it is stepping in, grabbing your life gently but incredibly firmly by the shoulders, violently shaking you awake and forcing you to look directly at the brutal, incredibly liberating truth. You are absolutely not the chosen one. You are the one who chooses, and for far too long, you have been choosing terribly. You cannot have a high-vibrational, deeply sovereign, spiritually aligned relationship with someone who is entirely, aggressively, permanently committed to their own mediocrity. You cannot do the necessary blood, sweat, and tears sovereignty work for another human being. You cannot breathe for them. You cannot heal them. This explosive planetary alignment is going to completely, permanently dissolve the complex, highly addictive, trauma-bonded servant contract that you have tragically, romantically confused for a destined cosmic connection. The late-degree energy of Mars is wielding a cosmic scalpel, and under the guiding light of the Sun and the stark clarity of Mercury, it is violently severing the thick, heavy, parasitic energetic cords that have kept you completely paralyzed in a state of perpetually waiting for permission to exist. You have been living your entire beautiful, incredibly short, infinitely valuable life in a dark, suffocating cosmic waiting room. You kept one eye permanently fixed on the digital door, constantly checking your phone, eagerly waiting for the miraculous epiphany, the cinematic moment they finally wake up from their ego-driven slumber, drop to their knees in the pouring rain, and realize they cannot survive a single day without your blinding light. But as the heavy, transformative, entirely uncompromising frequency of April 8 washes over your spirit, something miraculous, something almost unbelievable is going to biologically happen within your own nervous system. The heavy, suffocating, agonizing need to be seen by them, the desperate, clawing, painful need for them to finally acknowledge your massive sacrifice and your inherent light, it is going to suddenly, quietly, and entirely stop. It will simply evaporate into thin air. The anxious, vibrating engine driving that desperate attachment will simply run completely out of fuel. You are preparing to experience the profound, intimidating, utterly breathtaking liberation of radical authority. Listen to me very carefully, because you must deeply understand this crucial distinction as Saturn and Mars purge your emotional body today. Authority does not mean you are a tyrant. It does not mean you become bitter, cold, resentful, cynical, or entirely disconnected from the concept of love. In fact, harboring deep resentment, plotting quiet revenge, or desperately needing them to deeply regret losing you is just another covert, insidious form of energetic attachment. It still freely hands them your power. When you are truly authoritative, when you are truly resting securely in your sovereign, unshakable power, you simply do not need anyone's agreement to be right. You are no longer letting the external world or a specific, deeply flawed person's text message validate the existence of your light. You are no longer letting a ghost or an entire group of parasitic ghosts from your past dictate your daily, inherent, staggering self-worth. The authority arriving for you right now, catalyzed by the friction of Aries and anchored deeply by the spiritual warrior energy, is a quiet, steady, sovereign, completely untouchable peace. It is the heavy, absolute peace of the deep ocean trench, completely undisturbed by the violent, chaotic, noisy storms raging on the superficial surface above. You will look back at the relationship, the complex dynamic, the endless, agonizing waiting, the shattered promises, the relentless future-faking, the subtle manipulation, and the rivers of exhausted, unnecessary tears, and you will feel absolutely nothing but a calm, clinical, highly elevated, almost scientific sense of profound irrelevance. The emotional charge, the trauma trigger, the deep biological pull is completely, permanently gone. You will look at them not as an evil, calculated monster, not as your tragic, missed destiny, not as the one that got away, but exactly, objectively as they are, a deeply limited, highly fractured person who was merely a necessary, painful prop in your grand story of self-discovery. A human being who simply did not have the energetic capacity, the spiritual depth, the emotional courage, or the basic biological hardware to match the immense, staggering, terrifying magnitude of your true, awakened self. And as you finally, at a cellular, bone-deep DNA level, completely accept this profound Saturnian truth, you are going to feel a literal, physical expansion in your chest. Your posture will naturally, effortlessly, beautifully straighten. Your voice will drop a register and find its true, authoritative, deeply resonant frequency. You will move through your daily physical life with a certainty that makes the physical world around you literally bend to your fierce will. You will sleep with a deep, heavy, restorative, unbroken peace that only a person who has finally fought and won their own massive internal war can possibly know. But this is the most fascinating, complex, and highly predictable part of this energetic shift. and you must listen very closely with your entire being, so you are deeply, practically prepared for what is absolutely about to violently manifest in your physical, 3D reality in the coming days and weeks. Let us talk about the energetic reversal and the undeniable phenomenon of the final extinction. In the unseen realms, in the vast quantum field, where all human connection actually originates and is perpetually sustained, energy is entirely about authority, frequency, and flow. For months, or perhaps even agonizing years, you have been artificially, forcefully holding this person up in the astral realm by being their silent, devoted, sacrificial lamp. You have been their invisible, tireless, completely unpaid energetic support system. Even when you were not physically speaking, even when you were in strict no contact, even when you were physically thousands of miles apart, you were actively, constantly directing a massive, glowing, highly concentrated, life-giving stream of your vital life force directly into their reality just to keep their fragile, bloated ego afloat. You were constantly worrying about their progress, silently, desperately praying for their healing, extensively analyzing their social media for signs of change, and keeping the heavy, energetic doorway completely wide open for the miraculous day they would finally claim you. They felt this. Make absolutely no mistake. Their soul entirely felt this immense provision. They unconsciously, selfishly, parasitically relied on this energetic subsidy to survive. Your unseen, profound spiritual devotion was the invisible, unlimited credit line that allowed them to be so incredibly casual with your beating heart, to ignore your brilliant light so easily, and to walk away so confidently. They knew, on a deep, primal, subconscious, almost animal level, that you were still energetically tethered to them, still faithfully waiting in the dark wings, still keeping the golden throne warm for their eventual, dramatic return. They knew they had unlimited, VIP, all access to your high vibrational energy without having to take a single, microscopic ounce of real-world, adult responsibility for it. But as the powerful, uncompromising, ruthless energy of April 8 takes full, dictatorial hold of your spirit, as the waning moon violently clears the toxicity, you are going to finally, permanently, and ruthlessly burn the contract. You are going to take your immense, golden, roaring, life-giving energy. You are going to firmly, violently unplug it from their hollow, leaking, pathetic vessel, and you are going to fiercely, unapologetically redirect every single precious drop of it back into your own sovereign life, your own creative projects, your own physical body, and your own wildly expansive future. When you do this, when the energetic cord is actually completely cut in your heart, not just intellectually in your mind, they are going to significantly feel the drop. They will feel it instantly across the entire quantum field. A sudden, chilling, highly terrifying, completely unexplained poverty of spirit will violently enter their reality. The unconditional light, the spiritual warmth, and the heavy energetic safety net you unknowingly provided for them will simply vanish overnight. They will wake up and feel an unexplained, terrifying coldness in their life. They will suddenly, painfully realize they are in a terrifying freefall, and the immense safety net of your endless devotion has been completely, permanently incinerated by the cosmos. Because of this massive, sudden, energetic disruption, because the loyal, dependable servant has suddenly, without warning, become the untouchable, unreachable sovereign, they are going to experience a sudden, desperate, highly chaotic panic. They are going to experience the final extinction, the crushing, heavy, suffocating realization of what they have actually permanently lost. And they will realize this not because they suddenly, miraculously evolved to love you, but because they are suddenly starving for the specific, high-grade energy you use to effortlessly feed them. This is exactly why the universe operates with such profound, almost comical, absolute, clockwork irony. The exact moment you truly, authentically, down to the deepest marrow of your bones, entirely no longer care if they ever see you again. That is the exact, precise, mathematically certain moment they will feel desperately, obsessively, aggressively compelled to reach out and attempt to worship you. They will hover in your digital energy field like a desperate, hungry ghost, trying to find a cracked window back into a magnificent, towering temple that has finally, permanently been sealed shut with solid gold. They will absolutely start manifesting in your 3D reality, in highly predictable, high-intensity, yet pathetically transparent and completely ungrounded ways. They might send a completely explosive, highly dramatic, emotionally manipulative text message in the middle of the night declaring that they've just had a profound vision or a spiritual awakening about you being the only one for them. They might find a trivial, nonsensical, utterly transparent excuse to contact you, asking for advice on a mundane topic or bringing up a random, nostalgic memory of your shared destiny, just to see if it still makes your heart flutter and your boundaries drop. They will throw a massive, calculated authority crumb in your direction. They are doing this purely as an energetic reconnaissance mission to see if you are still desperately starving for their recognition. They want to check if you will still drop everything, completely abandon your boundaries, forget everything you've learned, and dive to the muddy floor to pick up that pathetic crumb. They want to see if the 24/7 servant service is still open for business. They want to see if they can still get free, unearned, unrestricted access to your brilliant light without having to actually bow, commit, fundamentally change, or step up to your entirely new level of authority. In the past, before this specific, fated planetary alignment of April 8, this is exactly where you would have stumbled. This is exactly where the toxic trap would have flawlessly worked. Your heart would have raced. Your mind would have gone into absolute overdrive. The dopamine would have violently flooded your brain, and you would have immediately, eagerly broken all of your hard-earned boundaries to be understood and chosen by them one last time. You would have abandoned your newly built throne all over again, eagerly compromising your deep, hard-won peace just for a temporary, fleeting, totally illusory moment of their fractured, conditional attention. But not this time. Not under the blazing, uncompromising Aries sky and the strict supervision of Saturn, because the version of you that existed before this intense, purging, cosmic energy arrived is completely gone. When they inevitably reach out, when they predictably circle back with their intense, dramatic, chaotic energy, you are going to experience the ultimate, final cosmic test of your newly established authority. The universe is handing you this specific test on a silver platter, not to punish you, not to drag you backward into the mud, but to allow you the immense, intoxicating pleasure of proving to yourself exactly how incredibly powerful, detached, and entirely sovereign you have truly become. And you are going to pass it with flying, undeniable, magnificent, breathtaking colors. You are going to look at their text message, observing their pathetic, transparent attempt to disrupt your hard-won peace, and you will feel absolute, unshakable, profound boredom. There will be no panic, no desperate, clawing hope, no urge to prove how well you are doing, and absolutely no frantic desire to call your friends in a frenzy to analyze what their sudden epiphany means. You will simply observe it like a detached, highly elevated, completely untouchable monarch, watching a very predictable, poorly written, incredibly boring play performed in a muddy village square. Looking at the authority crumb on your glowing screen, you will calmly, beautifully, logically realize that you are an entire, vast, expanding galaxy of pure light. You are simply no longer interested in the flickering, dying, completely irrelevant opinions of a collapsing star. You will not respond out of anger, because to feel anger means you still genuinely care. You will not type out a perfectly crafted, highly emotional, multi-paragraph explanation of why they are too late, how much they deeply hurt you, or how much you have miraculously grown. You will not demand the apology, the explanation, or the closure you once begged for on your hands and knees. You will realize, guided by the profound wisdom of Saturn and the decisive fire of Aries Mars, in a sudden flash of brilliant, diamond-clear insight, that the absolute highest form of authority is never a perfectly articulated argument, a clever comeback, or a desperate plea for understanding. The absolute highest form of authority is your own total, unbroken, deafening, absolute silence. Authority is an internal, unilateral energetic decision to simply move on into your own high frequency, leaving them entirely in the past where they safely, permanently belong. You will leave them on read, both digitally on your phone and energetically in the vast quantum field. You will fiercely, ruthlessly protect your peace, your sacred space, and your new timeline with the absolute, terrifying ferocity of a dragon guarding a sacred, ancient, golden city. This is the exact, microscopic, highly fated moment your entirely new existence is officially born. By completely refusing to engage with the chaotic, lower frequency, vampiric energy of the past, and by flatly, permanently refusing to ever step foot back into that suffocating waiting room, you are sending the most powerful, undeniable, high-voltage energetic frequency out to the universe. You are declaring, with absolute, unshakable, terrifying finality, that your brilliant, limitless light is now strictly, exclusively reserved for the royalty you have become. You are showing the universe, through your physical actions and your impenetrable energetic boundaries, that you finally, truly, know your staggering, infinite worth. Because of this monumental, timeline-shifting shift, because you absolutely passed the cosmic test of April 8, your entire romantic blueprint and your very destiny are being fundamentally rewritten from the ground up. The old, painful timeline is entirely collapsing. The new, golden one is locking firmly into place. You are realizing that true, authentic, soul-aligned, high-vibrational love does not ever feel like a desperate, exhausting struggle for power. It does not feel like an endless courtroom trial where you must constantly submit evidence of your worth and your loyalty. It does not feel like an agonizing, back-breaking, daily emotional labor performed just to keep someone basically interested in your existence. It does not require you to constantly suppress your own authority, shrink your magnificent light, bite your tongue, walk on eggshells, or perform exhausting emotional gymnastics just to be deemed worthy of basic human consistency, absolute honesty, and profound respect. True love feels like deep, profound, biological nervous system regulation. It feels like finally taking off a heavy, rusted, ironclad suit of armor after a long, exhausting, bloody, decade-long war. It feels incredibly, almost shockingly expansive and profoundly, beautifully light. It feels undeniably, unequivocally, entirely safe. It is a sacred connection where your biggest, most terrifyingly ambitious dreams are met with immense, unshakable encouragement, where your natural, radiant authority is not just respected but actively, loudly, consistently celebrated. In this highly elevated space, you never, ever spend a single agonizing second awake at night desperately guessing if you are too much for them or if they are going to suddenly pack up and leave. The transformative planetary shifts of the waning moon and this massive stellium are forcefully clearing the heavy, lingering shadows out of the executive suite of your soul, violently kicking open the massive double doors and letting the brilliant, fresh, oxygenated light of your infinite potential entirely flood into the room. Because you have painstakingly bravely created this beautifully protected, empty space and completely stopped enabling the toxic dynamics of the past. You are now highly, dangerously, undeniably magnetic. But you must deeply understand this new, absolute law of physics. You are absolutely no longer magnetic to the wounded, broken souls who desperately need you to be their emotional servant or unpaid therapist. You have permanently, officially retired from the exhausting, entirely thankless job of providing for the emotionally bankrupt. You are no longer a glowing beacon for energy vampires who want to consume your light because they are too cowardly to generate their own. You are now exclusively, powerfully magnetic to the aligned, conscious, fully healed individuals who have done their own heavy lifting in the dark. You are attracting an energetic frequency that perfectly, flawlessly matches your new, highly elevated vibration of radical self-authority. You are calling in a partner entirely ready to meet you in your absolute, unapologetic wholeness. Someone who wants to stand powerfully shoulder to shoulder with you, looking in the exact same direction to build an absolute empire of deep peace, profound joy, and mutual, exponential growth. But you cannot bypass the reality of what it took to get here. You must pause, right now, and deeply, tenderly forgive the past version of yourself that stayed too long. That version of you kept you alive until you were strong enough, conscious enough, and angry enough to finally leave. You did your absolute best with the emotional tools and the level of awareness you had at that specific time in your life. Do not ruthlessly punish the past version of yourself for not knowing what you know right now. You have significantly better tools now. You have a forged, undeniable wisdom and an impenetrable, glowing shield of radical self-authority around your heart. The future rushing toward you on your newly cleared timeline is so incredibly bright and profoundly beautiful that it would completely blind the wounded version of you from 6 months ago. The authentic, powerful partnership preparing to enter your life will not require you to shrink your soul, constantly explain your massive value, or beg for basic support. It will arrive naturally and organically, entirely devoid of the agonizing mind games, silent treatments, and dramatic chaos you once tolerated. But this profound transformation begins right here. In this microscopic moment, it starts with making a completely unbreakable vow to yourself. You will never again abandon your own authority just to keep someone else comfortable in their smallness. You must consciously acknowledge that the painful, toxic connection you held onto so desperately was merely a turbulent bridge to your own awakening, not your final destination. It was the harsh but necessary catalyst that forced you to look within, heal your oldest wounds of scarcity, and irrevocably choose your own peace over anyone else's comfort. You have always been ready for this. You just needed to get completely tired of the exhausting drama to confidently claim your worth. The energy of this moment pushes you firmly into the elevated, sovereign reality you always deserved. Take one final, deep, grounding breath. Place your right hand firmly over your solar plexus, the undeniable seat of your personal authority. Close your eyes. Feel the steady, reliable, immensely powerful vibration of your physical existence beneath your palm. That beating heart is your ultimate truth. It is your permanent, unshakable home. Everything outside this body is just a temporary reflection. But this untouchable core of authority is entirely yours, impervious to anyone else's insecurity. If these words spoke directly to your spirit today, do not let this powerful moment pass unacknowledged. Like this message as a deliberate, conscious declaration that you are finally ready to receive the immense peace and profound love unfolding for you. Share your journey in the comments below. Your honest words might be the exact crucial validation someone else desperately needs to read today. Subscribe to remain deeply connected to this high frequency as we navigate these necessary shifts together. Breathe in the brilliant reality of your new beginning. Exhale the tired echoes of the past. You are profoundly safe, beautifully whole, and completely sovereign. Welcome home to your brilliant, brand new authority.